All right, folks, I guess we will go right into the possible, probable two deep roster. Dave Biddle of 247 Sports on Bucknuts displayed a depth chart, Steve. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, I'm going to send you guys the link just in case you haven't seen it. Just let's see. Yeah, you've got it up on the screen, I guess. Um, obviously the quarterback position, we've delved into that. At running back, he's got Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins, which makes sense. And I don't know if it'll be a territorial thing where they just start Henderson every week since he's the guy from the program, or if Carlos Lachlan and Chip Kelly and Ryan Day will look at the body of work each week and say, this is Quinshon Judkins' week to start. And honestly, starting is, everybody makes a deal about it, but the important thing is producing. And I think you're going to get into some games where both guys have gotten some first half carries to see which guy's got the rhythm, which guy has got the ability to make some things happen against the opposing defense. And then the second half, it could be a case where they go where whoever's done better in the first half gets 3/4 of the reps in the second half, and that's how the game ends. So starting is one thing, finishing is an entirely different thing. And I wonder if Quinshon Judkins, just because of his durability, will be that finisher, will be that punishing guy who puts teams away. Dave doesn't mention Sam Williams-Dixon in there as a backup with James Peoples, but I fully expect Sam Williams-Dixon to also play. He was impressive to me. I don't think Peoples or Williams-Dixon looked like they were freshmen the 3 or 4 days I got to see, and I don't think they backed down from the challenge one bit. And that isn't to say that they're not freshmen and they're not going to fumble and they're not going to take a step the wrong way and create a broken play, or something stupid's going to happen. I mean, it's just human nature. The more reps you get, the more the better you are at execution. But so yeah, I see all four of these guys playing, and I think that Henderson and Judkins are going to be given every chance to put their imprint on each game this season. And whichever guy grabs that brass ring on a given week, that's the guy that's going to get rewarded, I think.
I will just say Travion Henderson has started every game that he's been healthy at Ohio State since like the second or third game of his career as a freshman. So once he established himself and he's been healthy enough, he started. But yeah, I'm with Steve. If you start Quinshon, I don't think that means anything to these guys. And they may want to just do that right away, just to like kind of just break the seal on somebody other than Travion starting, just so you can, if it happens throughout the season. But I'm expecting both guys to get between like 12 and 17 carries a game, and they're both, I think, going to be very similar in numbers. So, like I don't consider one of them a backup. There are positions on this team where I don't consider somebody a backup to somebody else, because they're both going to be needed. Like, CJ Hicks and Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles has been with the ones. Is CJ Hicks the backup? Maybe, but he's got a role in other things as well. So this is just, two co-starters, good problem to have. And I do wonder how often we'll see them together in the backfield, because I don't think it'll be something that we talk about and it's like we never see it. I do think we'll see it this year.
Yeah. He scrolls on down, goes right into the offensive line, and Donovan Jackson, obviously at left guard, and Josh Simmons at left tackle. He's got Seth McLaughlin at center. His right guard is Tegra Shabola or Carson Hinsman, and then the right tackle is Josh Fryer. I think all that makes sense to me. I think, and this is just kind of me reading between the tea leaves and the lines here, two things in that battle at right guard that kind of stood out to me. One is Carson Hinsman was an Iron Buckeye. And that really carries a lot of weight. He's one of 10 players on the team that were an Iron Buckeye in the offseason program, according to Mickey Marotti. So that's one feather in his cap. And the other one, I believe Ryan Day was asked directly about Tegra Shabola and kind of where things are at with him. He said, well, in paraphrasing, he said, yeah, he's got the size, he's got the athletic ability, but you have to do it on a consistent day in and day out basis. And that's carrying out your assignment, knowing your assignment, mastering your assignment, getting the job done. And you just kind of read between the lines there that maybe there's been a little bit of a disconnect at times with Tegra. And again, this is overly simplistic, maybe not knowing his assignment on a particular play, not executing it perfectly, whatever it might be. But it just seemed and felt like Carson had just the slightest of edges, even though he has a year less in the program than Tegra Shabola. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Shabola's in his third year. Well, what is Hinsman? Hinsman's in his third year. Maybe they're both in the third year. I don't know. So to me, that's interesting. As far as the backups at all these spots, I don't look at it as left and right. And I don't think they do either. I think that if something were to happen to one of the tackles, that possibly George Fitzpatrick might be the first guy in, then Zen Mahalski, then maybe Luke Montgomery, who's also repping at guard. That seems to me to be the pecking order there. And certainly we've kind of laid out what the pecking order is there at guard. To a degree, Austin Sierreveld maybe also in that picture, but he's a down the line guy to me. I think you've got, let's say you play Hinsman, you got Shabola and Montgomery who would play, 8 series before Sierreveld ever got on the field. So just as an example. So I don't look at the left and right thing, and I don't think the coaches do either. They're going to put the best player, and they're cross-training these guys left and right, and they're going to put the best player on the field. And I think the pecking order seems clear to me, even if it's not to Justin Fry and Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. But that's kind of my reading between the tea leaves on that.
It would be much clearer if they weren't dealing with the virus that they've dealt with throughout the first 2 weeks of camp. But I'm with Steve. I think it's going to be Carson Hinsman at right guard. And it's been interesting. The other interesting aspect of this is that Luke Montgomery has been the backup center in all of this, and that they're trying to me, it looks like they're really trying to make him the backup center and not having to worry about Carson Hinsman playing right guard. If something happens to Seth McLaughlin, now we got to move Carson over, and now you've got to also bring in somebody new at right guard. So it looks like they're just trying to make it so if something happens, they can just plug in one person and everybody else just keeps doing what they're doing. And you put all this experience around a second-year guy like Luke Montgomery, who is a tremendous athlete for an offensive lineman, as a defensive end and tight end in his first couple of years in high school, AAU basketball player. So he's got the athleticism that they like. And I think it's been an interesting transition for him to center. And he's embraced that, but can play essentially all 5 positions for Ohio State, which is a nice swing guy to have there. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm still waiting to see who the number 3 tackle is completely. And honestly, it may end up being Shabola or Montgomery if things go wonky, but they're also really, really working hard on getting George Fitzpatrick ready for that.
Yeah. Wide receivers, I think it's pretty clear. Emeka Buka, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate are the top 3. Brandon Ennis has had a really good start to preseason camp after missing the spring due to an injury, and I think he's number 4. And then I think it is wide open for 5, 6, 7 after that. He lists Bryson Rogers, redshirt freshman, Mylan Graham, the late enrolling true freshman, Demarion Witten, who was recruited theoretically as a tight end, 6'4", 215, true freshman. He's been repping with the wide receivers. Jaden Ballard, who's in like his 4th year and has really, never had much of an opportunity on offense. And he does not list Kojo Antwi, but he is also repping at wide receiver as well. But Zone 6, a little bit of a different look. No Marvin Harrison Jr. Emeka Egbuka is the only known commodity, although Jeremiah Smith, number 1 overall prospect in the country, and coming off an incredible spring showing as a freshman, looks like he's going to be right in there. And Tate really started preseason camp strong. Tony, I liked really in the few practices I got to see. I liked Tate. You probably have seen all 5 of the open practices. I only got to 3 of the 5 because I had family stuff going on the other 2 days. But that seems to be a pretty solid group right there. And I like that they're cross training guys at different spots. So you can't just say, oh, Mac is going to always line up in the slot, or Jeremiah is always going to line up at split end, or Tate's always going to line up at flanker. Seems like they're cross training at different spots, and that can pay huge dividends as well.
Yeah, Mecca and Carnell Tate can play any of the 3 receiver positions, and they did it last year. So you can move those guys around just like they did with Marvin Harrison last year, who I think played about a third of his snaps in the slot, and you move guys around, try to find the matchups that you want. But yeah, Tate has been fantastic, and we got to talk to him last week, and he said, he's just looking forward to showing what he can do and talking trash along with it. So he's not a quiet guy, and he knows, like, people are talking about Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, even though people aren't really talking about Emeka Egbuka. He knows he's like 3rd in the pecking order of media attention. But I do wonder, like, if you opened up the Big Ten wide receivers to a Big Ten draft, Carnell Tate's not lasting much past 5 or 6 in the draft, and he might not make it that far.
Yeah. Scrolling down tight end, G. Scott Jr., 5th-year senior, 6'3", 243, sat behind Cade Stover the last 2 years, and it looks like it's his time. But not, as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. I like G. He's one of the spiritual leaders of the team. But again, consistency. He's got to do it on an every down, every day, every play, every game basis. And that's a big hurdle, I think, for him and any of these guys. Will Kazmarek comes in from Ohio University, big step up in class, obviously going from the Mid-American to the Big Ten. He caught over 20 passes each of his first 2 years. Will he be able to generate much in the terms of catching passes in the Big Ten? Jelani Thurman, great pass-catching tight end. Can he master the rest of the job, which is blocking? Patrick Gerd, I'm going to say walk-on, probably been awarded a scholarship. Ryan Day won't tell us what walk-ons have scholarships because that's an important state secret to keep hidden from everybody. And then Bennett Chrisman, he's not listed, coming off the year suspension for the performance-enhancing drugs or whatever it was that kept him out last year. He says an inadvertent thing that he took. You could make the case that G. Scott's not the best pass catcher and he's not the best blocker, but he might be the best all-around tight end. I would think Thurman and Christman are probably the best pass catchers based on what I've seen. I would say Kazmarek and Gerd are probably the best blockers. So you got 5 guys, and I think on any given play, any of those 5 could be on the field. And I'm giving Bennett Christman a little bit more benefit of the doubt than I think anybody else is. But when I see him in practice going down the middle of the field, he makes plays. So you've been there, Tony, as I said, 2 more practices than I have. What's your thought on the tight end position? And am I selling G a little bit short, or is he going to be the every down guy?
Well, I think he's going to be the every down guy 60% of the time. Will Kazmarek is going to be in there as well, because those have been the 2 guys that have been running with the 1s and the 2s. And it's been Jelani Thurman, Patrick Gerd, everybody else running with the 2s, 3s, and so on. Jelani's had some good moments, but like Ryan Day was asked about him last week or the week before, and it was like one of the most critical answers and honest answers that Ryan Day has given about a player in terms of what he still needs to do and what he's not doing yet. It's the consistency. It's, yes, there might be a nice catch or a nice drive, but there was a missed block or there's just a missed assignment. So like he's still, to me, like everybody likes to talk about him, but if you can't trust a player on every single snap, you're not going to see him on very many snaps, because in a game, any play can cost you it can be critical, and you have to be able to trust those guys. I think they trust G. Scott and Will Kazmarek the most right now, and I think you'll see those two guys in 12 personnel. But I do think there'll be times where it's Will in there and G. Scott's on the sideline. Likewise, there'll be times when it's G. Scott out there and Will Kazmarek's on the sideline. It's been a steep climb for Kazmarek to move from Ohio to Ohio State, and I think it caught him off guard a little bit in the spring, but now he's acclimated to what it is to play at Ohio State. I think he's starting to pick up speed in camp, and I think we talked to Keenan Bailey and the tight ends next week, and I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of echo that sentiment with Will Kazmarek.